Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Kickin' Show. We've got a lot packed in this very short show. Lots of big news, especially with the NASCAR Xfinity Series and the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series releasing their schedule. Kurt, and yes, I said Kurt Busch, making a really cool announcement regarding a paint scheme on the window net. Got to stay tuned to check out some more of that. Plus a whole lot more from Vegas, one of the few races I get to go to every year, as well as our predictions with the Talladega race. And for a lot of you fans who are wondering, updates on the health condition with Joey Gase. Today, it's just me and Seth Eggert, who is our iRacing expert. He'll have some news with the digital realm a little bit later in the episode as well. But Seth, how has your week been?
It's been eventful in good ways and bad, unfortunately, but staying positive.
Yeah, we were having lots of issues with the internet earlier, and you've had to join this Zoom call like 4 times now.
4 times, got kicked once by accident, and we've learned you can't rejoin once you've been kicked.
You like froze, and it was like one of those awkward still screens of video, and you're like, I'm going to go right now. And it's like stuck there, and then it says you're trying to join. So I'm like, oh, let me boot this one so I can have you join. And then you're like, I can't join again. Technology is both a wonderful thing and a curse. But let's get started because, like I said, there's some big news going on. I know a couple weeks ago we had the NASCAR Cup Series schedule get released a little bit later than usual, but obviously with COVID protocols, that's understandable. And usually a week, 2, maybe 3 weeks after is when we get the Xfinity and Truck Series schedule rolling out. Sure enough, I get home from Vegas, and right there in my inbox is the 2022 NASCAR Xfinity and Camping World Truck Series schedule. Really the biggest thing with the Xfinity schedule, if you haven't been on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat or whatever the social media platform you use, we are going to the Pacific Northwest to Portland International Raceway. It's going to be replacing Mid-Ohio. And actually, Seth, I think you pointed this out. It's the only standalone race in the 22 schedule for the NASCAR Xfinity Series schedule.
It is, and in part that's because of COVID. It's a cost-cutting measure because a lot of the teams use the Cup Series pit crews in the Xfinity Series. So by limiting the amount of standalone races, it makes it a lot easier for the teams to travel. More than likely, what they will do at Portland is what they did at Mid-Ohio this year and have that alternate pit rules where you have the timed pit road stops where you have to spend a minimum amount of time on pit road or a maximum amount of time pit road, which some drivers like AJ Allmendinger were penalized for, and he still came back to win. So we'll probably see some shenanigans like that.
Yeah, and then for the most part, I think the schedule looks like it stays the same. I'm looking through it right now. I don't see any other major changes or shuffles. And the reason I say that is because if we look over at the Truck Series schedule, there's a lot of shakeup, not just races replacing other tracks and stuff like that, but Martinsville and Richmond getting a swap with their spring and playoff dates. Martinsville going from the spring to a playoff date, and then from
reverse.
I'm sorry. Yeah, is it Richmond? Let me see.
Richmond goes to the playoffs. Martinsville goes to the spring.
That's right. So, just so people know, someone said Richmond goes to the fall. It's actually very end of summer, apparently. But yeah, other than that, we've got trucks going to Mid-Ohio, Sonoma. That's a
blast from the past.
Yeah, that's a big one for a lot of the old school fans, stuff like that. That's huge for the West Coast because for Sonoma, we've only had ARCA and Cup for forever.
Yeah, trucks went there as a standalone for three or 4 years, 95 through 98, in October.
Yeah, of all times. I mean, obviously you can have a race anytime you want in California because you don't got to worry about snow and rain is so spontaneous out here. It doesn't really matter. Probably the other biggest one that was really a disappointment for a lot of fans, to be fair. But at the same time, there's really not much NASCAR can do at this point. But Canada is not getting a race in 2022 with the Truck Series schedule. Instead, they will be going to IRP. That's unfortunate because there's a huge fan base up in Canada. But again, with COVID protocols getting stricter at the Canadian border right now, hopefully this is just something temporary. But just like I said, nothing that NASCAR could do. And it was starting to become virtually impossible for teams to be able to take the haulers and all their teams and all their equipment over the border to go race up there.
Yeah, Ben Kennedy, by the way, that's from his only truck win, if I remember correctly. But he spoke to Bob Pockris and the media earlier today, explaining why they weren't going to Canada. Basically, they didn't want to put it on the schedule, even though they have the option to move it, because honestly, doing it 3 years in a row, it being on the schedule and it being shifted or realigned or replaced, whatever word you want to use, to whether it's a Daytona road course, Homestead, or this year Darlington, it's not a good look, quite honestly. And it's not fair to the fans to say, hey, we might be going here, and then only to have COVID and the restrictions keep you from going there.
Yeah, and the same was true with Mexico when the Xfinity Series used to race there. There was a lot of issues that started to build up at the borders, and teams getting giving lots of complaints to NASCAR about that, and just nothing they could really do except just cut that race. So, but the trucks they will be racing at IRP instead of Canada. By the way, Mid Ohio replaces Watkins Glen, and then they're going to be going to Kansas a second time, replacing what I thought was a little odd, but they're going to be replacing the Daytona road course for that one instead.
But the Daytona road course came out of replacing Homestead earlier this year, at least, and that was because of the schedule realignments for not being able for the Cup and Xfinity to go out to Auto Club. So It's kind of a connected dots sort of replacement there.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier. So Sonoma is actually replacing the second Vegas race. So if you guys notice, this doesn't really align with like replacing schedule wise. Seth, you and I were talking about it before, and you brought up the point. This is all primarily business decisions because IRP and Canada, both those tracks are both independently owned, and then the other tracks are either NASCAR owned, replacing a NASCAR owned track, or SMI
to SMI.
SMI to SMI. I'm looking at IRP and I'm thinking ISM or something like that because my dyslexia is kicking in. But yeah, and the weird part with Sonoma, the reason for that is because the second Vegas race, get this, Vegas lost that race because there's no available TV slots for that Friday night, which I thought was really odd that they couldn't try to make something work out either Saturday or Sunday. But then again, this past weekend, I don't know if you guys realized, but these were all later start times because even at 4 o'clock, 4:30 in those grandstands, it was hot. Like it wasn't quite 90. Earlier in the day, it was 91, 92 at the hottest part of the day on like Saturday or something like that. So at 4:30, it was starting to cool off. But even then, it was a thick heat. It was quite unbearable until the sun went down. The truck race, not so bad because they kind of started already at dusk. So very doable. But man, when it got to that Xfinity or the Cup race, whew, it was quite unbearable to say the least.
Yeah, and Vegas, it's always hit and miss, so to speak, because of no matter what time of year, Vegas is out in the desert. It's going to be hot. It's just whether it's going to be hot or unbearable hot.
Pretty much. Exactly. So, and Auto Club is kind of the same way. It's hot or unbearably hot. Sonoma's the same way. I mean, and Sonoma too, like every year they have it in the dead of summer. Oof, there are
I,
some years it's terrible.
I personally want to see Sonoma have a race in the spring one year, just so that way we could race when the track is green. And
Yeah.
I don't mean the pavement. I mean the actual grass growing.
Yeah. I mean, the track and all the surroundings are already really gorgeous at Sonoma up in wine country in Napa County. It's like you said, that would be perfect with the West Coast swing. Just throw Sonoma in there. Why not? It's already gorgeous. It's just going to be that much more beautiful and stuff like that. So,
And how about this for the West Coast swing? Sonoma on the way back hit Coda, so you have 2 road courses back to back.
or let's throw a Laguna Seca race in there. Why not?
The town won't.
Oh man. Anyway, so everything else looks like it's staying the same. Like you said, Seth, the Xfinity Series having their only standalone race, and then a couple other tweaks here and there and stuff like that. But yeah, it's pretty much for the most part the schedule that we all anticipated. I think a couple changes with the truck schedule caught a few of us by off loop there, but in a good way, I think. Aside from Canada losing the race, that's kind of the huge bummer. But other than that, I think it's all pretty much what we saw coming. One thing that we didn't see something coming was Kyle Busch getting tagged in all these different things, which has happened all year. I think we finally found the person that has worked at ESPN and NBC and all these other places.
And
that
now
keep tagging Kyle.
And now apparently the Fox 46 Charlotte affiliate. Lindsay, I'm sorry, but
we do this in jest because
Yeah.
we know it's not intentional. It's very common for someone who doesn't cover the sport to be able to intermix drivers like that. It's very easy to do that when you just see numbers and helmets all around track and you don't get to see a lot of faces, but it's kind of been the running joke.
And I will say it doesn't help when the 2 brothers have milestone starts on the same weekend.
Same weekend. You know what's funny is I asked Kyle about that. So Jerry's like, you can't ask him that. You can't ask him that. And what he was referring to is Kyle, like you said, had his 600th start, and Kurt had his 750th start. Both milestone starts, and it's both at their home track. And if you hit the rewind tape, you go back to 2003, 2004? 2004, when Kyle Busch made his first start. It was at Las Vegas, except it only lasted, 11 laps, and then he crashed out?
Yes.
So Jerry's like, you can't ask him that. Don't bring that up. He'd get mad at you. That's not a great way to talk with Kyle Busch, mister. So what I did was I said, hey, Kyle, so, it's your 600th start. It's at your home track. You also made your first start here. What's the biggest set of differences you've learned over the years from your first start to this start? And of course, that's to make not necessarily a jab, but just to give him an opportunity to joke about it. And sure enough, he goes, it just means I'm older. And we all kind of laughed. So then I followed that up to say, well, your brother Kurt is also making a monumental start. What's it like to share something like that and then have it just be at your home track? It's just almost like the stars lined up. And he joked again and went, yeah, it just means he's getting closer to retirement.
Which you can read that full quote in an article that I wrote on Kyle Busch's milestone start on kickingtires.net.
That was quite the entertaining. If you catch Kyle in the right mood, not when he's like bored, but also not when he's like overly tipped mad, but like kind of in the middle, he's really fun. He is so much fun. And if you just start a conversation with him and not just ask questions, he's a blast to interview. A ton of fun. But yeah, Seth, talking about Kurt making that milestone start. I know there's a little bit of paint scheme going on with the window nets, and this started last year, I guess.
It actually started in 2019. A fan had written to Kurt. I think the fan is 9 years old, or was 9 years old at the time. And he was asking for Kurt, since they always run pink paint schemes in support of breast cancer awareness. They paint the walls pink at Charlotte Motor Speedway. They've painted the curbs pink at Martinsville Speedway. If he could run a pink window net in support of this fan's mother who is fighting breast cancer. Well, Kurt went to NASCAR in 2020, and unfortunately, because of COVID, he wasn't able to get the full approval until this year. Kurt, along with the rest of the field in the Cup Series, will have pink window nets. The driver's side of it will be black, so there's no glare, but we'll have pink window nets that each driver will then sign, and it will be auctioned off for charity.
Yeah, which charity is that with?
I think it's Susan G. Coleman, if I remember correctly. I'll be honest, I don't have the notes in front of me because of the internet issues I was having earlier. So all of my notes went out the window because the internet. But
like inner knots.
But yeah, either way, it's for a good cause, and that's the main thing. And honestly, this also does open the door for colored window nets in the future, which could make some interesting paint schemes, for one. And for another, Kurt's running the pink window net. Why can't he run the pink monster? There is a pink monster logo. Both he and Kyle ran it in the Xfinity series in the number 54 Kyle Busch Motorsports entry in 2012.
There you go.
So it's out there. Why not run it?
Who knows? That would be interesting. I'm not sure. That could easily go both ways. Because I could see NASCAR saying yes to something special like this, but also no on a permanent level.
Well, they did recently make a rule adjustment saying that it is allowed with approval.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if that rule change was because of what Kurt was trying to do.
And I think there's something similar in the rule book regarding paint schemes whenever it changes the default font or color of your number that you have submitted for the year.
Yeah. I think the only exception is Throwback Weekend.
And I think non-chartered cars.
Yeah.
But that so from an official standpoint, that would be interesting if they allowed that permanently because of the safety issues of knowing where the window net is at all times for like the corner workers, the EMT workers, all that stuff. Obviously, when you're up on the car, you already know what's going on. But as far as like being up in the tower with race control, that's where I could see that being an issue. But like you said, if it is something that does get allowed, we're going to see some pretty wicked paint schemes, and especially with the number moving, the new car, all the extra body work that's able to get some fun stuff.
I'm just imagining a car with colored rims and a matching colored paint scheme and window net.
Yeah.
The only thing that's left that isn't colored is the spoiler.
Which is the top half? Is the top half of that like? Are they still doing like the clear part on the top half of that, or is that all like one piece now?
I think it's all one piece depending on the track.
Okay.
I think Super Speedway is the top half. It's going to be that clear Lexan plastic. I'm not entirely sure, but that was the last picture that I saw. I know they were experimenting with different setups and different packages.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that'll be cool to see, and it's cool that that Kurt's got the whole field involved and not just him. I think that'll be great. I think if they do stuff like this more often, like I'd love to see this with other.
Well, I know at Kansas, they're doing auctions on eBay for the NASCAR Foundation to have your cancer hero, cancer survivor, have their name replace the driver's name above the door.
Yep.
And that's in Cup, Xfinity, Truck, and ARCA. Yeah. I believe also Truex does a deal. I want to say it's also at the Roval, where everybody wears the Dale Jr. skull gloves.
His bone
skeleton
gloves,
gloves, and they auction that off for charity as well for the Sherry Strong Foundation. So there's a number of them that already do this, and Kurt's essentially just joining in on the action.
Here would be something really cool. Let's get Barrett Jackson involved, and let's find like an old classic car and have that be the pace car during Throwback Weekend, and then we could auction that car off at Barrett Jackson. There you go.
Hey, Rodney, if you're listening,
Rodney,
here's an idea.
Hey, you want to sponsor? You want to have Barrett Jackson come sponsor our podcast? Rodney, Rodney's a great guy. But no, like, come on, like, let's keep getting creative. I love it. Or SRX had a fantastic car, their pace car.
Hey, maybe find a classic, whether it's Corvette, Camaro, and make that into the pace car.
Oh, go even further back. Let's find a Hudson that still runs well.
Well, I'm trying to keep with the theme of Throwback Weekend because they do have themes each Throwback Weekend. And I think next year's is I want to say next year's is back to the 1965 to 75 era, something like that.
Yeah.
I remember seeing it while I was there. I just I don't remember what exactly it was off the top of my head.
I want to see like what next big driver name is going to go into the either NASCAR Hall of Fame or the NMPA Hall of Fame, because I'd love to see like a throwback, like dedicated to just that driver and have tons of that driver's paint schemes out on the track. That would be pretty wicked. Well, almost like what we did with Darrell Waltrip. That's what I was thinking of.
Well, there is the NC Auto Racing Hall of Fame, which just announced who they are going to have enter their Walk of Fame next week. Alan Quickie, Bobby Labonte, Greg Anderson from the NHRA, and Rex White.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys know of any kind of motorsports Hall of Fame that doesn't have Alan Quickie in it, like, please let me know so I can personally call them and ask them why.
I think Quickie was supposed to go in last year, but they canceled last year's event because of COVID.
Yeah. So, and how long has that one been around? Is that the newer one or
no? The NCL Racing Hall of Fame has been around since 1995, and the chairman of the board there is Don Miller, the former head of Team Penske.
That makes sense. Got it. But yeah, gosh, I mean, that would be so cool to see some more stuff like what Darrell Waltrip had with all of his paint schemes out there. So other than that, before we get a little bit more into Vegas, you have some big news with iRacing and their Championship 4. Is that right?
Yeah, the Championship 4 was decided last night at Talladega. Nick Ottinger, who's not in the playoffs, finally scored his first win of the season. The defending champion probably has locked himself in that he's not going to get relegated going into next year. So he's safe from that. His teammate, Logan Clampett, who just signed SimSeats as a sponsor, transfers into the Championship 4, along with Mitchell DeYoung from 2311 Racing, also sponsored by Logitech. So that's 3 Logitech drivers in 2 different teams. Keegan Leahy and Bobby Zielinski were already in because they had won at Bristol and Darlington, respectively. But I will say this, the strategy that Ottinger and Clampett had was brilliant. The 2 of them and their Team Conti, which is the back-end team, aligned themselves. So those 4 drivers and 3 drivers from Drill Isle Racing, which is another back-end team, all decided to pit on lap 22. And they went a full fuel run and pitted with 36 to go. And because they had shorter pit stops, the 7 cars had a 10-second lead over the pack at the end of the race.
Wait, how many yellow flags were in this?
1
At Talladega?
on lap 1.
On iRacing?
Yes.
So Jerry wasn't in this race. Okay, cool.
Well, neither were you or I.
Yeah. Oh, trust me, I know that because everyone will be knowing how much you wrecked me. I'm just kidding. Kind of.
But hey, but seriously, the first and only wreck was Michael Guest trying to clear himself to go down to the bottom lane and went across the nose of 4-time champion Ray Alfaro.
Boy, Ray has had quite the year this year.
Yeah, he's finally in the top 20, and if he can stay there, he won't be in the Pro Series again next in November. Right now, I believe there's only 4 drivers who can actually work their way into the top 20 at Texas Motor Speedway, the season finale, in 2 weeks.
Yikes. Imagine being a 4-time champion. Like, this is like the Dale Earnhardt, the Richard Petty of iRacing.
The Richard Petty or the David Pearson, yes.
Or David Pearson. It's just like, oh, hey, by the way, like, bye.
But I will say this, though. Logan Clampett has both an advantage and disadvantage going into Texas. He doesn't have any teammates in the championship 4, so he doesn't have to worry about running against teammates. However, Keegan Leahy, Bobby Zielinski, and Mitchell DeYoung are all on the back-end team, Coanda SimSport.
Come on, it's for championship. No more teammates.
Well, trust me, they're going to race for the championship. But I wouldn't be surprised if they also race to help each other out, too.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, because, like, let me see here. Last year, the championship 4 was Chase, Hamlin.
Chase, Hamlin, Keselowski, and
Logano.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Brad and Joey were worried about each other. Trust me. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I know that it's one of those where they're going to work together on the setup between now and then. But come race time itself, they're going to be all for one and one for all.
Yep. Yeah, and then 2019 when Kyle Busch won, it was Busch, Truex, and Hamlin. I guarantee you those 3 weren't worried about each other. They didn't.
I was going to say Truex, maybe if he didn't have the front tires swapped, might have run better, but
yeah. I think the only year in this format where we've had 4 different teams, which I'll just put that in quotation marks, was when Truex, Busch, Harvick, and Keselowski went for the championship in 2017. I say in quotation marks because Front Row Motorsports or Furniture Row Motorsports was with Truex at the time, and Kyle Busch was with JGR, even though
and Furniture Row was an alliance team of JGR.
Right, exactly. So, so I guess really the first year we had it was when we had 4 different teams, at least the closest to that. I don't think we have 4 teams right now that are going to make it that far, because I see us going down to 3 teams when we get to the round of 8.
3, if not 2.
That too. I mean, geez, it's going to get crazy. Well, talking about getting crazy, that was exactly what the truck race was, with
Sheldon Creed break when there's a wreck.
Oh my gosh, Creed, what are you doing, bud? I love you, man. You do great. You put on a heck of a show. You do an awesome job with Robbie Gordon's truck thing. But my gosh, what are you doing flying down in the apron when the whole top of the truck is open? Oh man, but good to see he's okay. And I think he hit
Chandler Smith.
Chandler Smith, that's right.
Chandler Smith hit Ankrum, and then Chandler Smith had no steering, which brought him down to the apron, and that's when Creed hit him.
Yeah, so good to see both of them okay, and I think Creed knew right away it was a hard hit. He got out of his truck and just went straight over to Chandler Smith to make sure he was okay. And, you know, look, it's for stuff like that, it's just spur of the moment. You make a decision, and sometimes you make your bed and sleep in it, and that's just what bit Sheldon Creed. So But he's not the only one that had issues. That wreck alone took out, I think, 3, if I remember correctly. And then you
Chandler
have
Smith, Creed, Haley Deegan was in it. Tyler Ankrum was in it. I know there's one more, but again, I don't have the luxury of notes tonight.
Yeah, let me see. So I have Creed, Smith, Ankrum were all in that crash. A couple others were able to keep going. But then you also have Zane Smith, who was having mechanical issues, and then John Hunter Nemechek was having like electrical / ignition box issues with his truck shutting off.
And Hocevar decides to spin on purpose. Yeah.
Let's not go too far into there.
The white gloves and the penalty kind of warrant at least mentioning.
Yeah, so that's a rookie mistake. But yeah, Hocevar, next time you do that, just make sure you wear black gloves. Or like a dark magenta gloves or something like that. Anyway, yeah, and then the other part too, a playoff driver didn't win the race.
Yep, Christian Eckes. Yep, and the first ever 1, 2, 3, 4 for ThorSport.
Yeah, and keep that in mind too, because that's not the only team dominating a race this weekend.
And I'll add this: first ever 1, 2, 3, 4 finish for a team in Truck Series history.
Yeah, that was unheard of. I mean, obviously, let's get real here. Those ThorSport trucks, between all 4 of them, led a total of 11 laps all race long. Todd Gilliland was going to win this race. He was nailing every restart. He was nailing every long run, short run, mid run, all that stuff. This was Todd Gilliland's race. But just that final restart, for whatever it was, all the ThorSport trucks knew how to get by him. They all teamed up against him. They all found a way around and got that 1, 2, 3, 4 finish. Obviously, if you're like a Ben Rhodes or a Matt Crafton right now, you're like, that was our opportunity. But at the same time, it's better to be lucky than good sometimes. I mean, those guys, let's be honest, those 4 drivers were not good today or on Friday night, but they got lucky with a big break from Nemechek having issues, a lot of the other playoff drivers getting in that big crash, and then being able to put themselves in position to team up against Gilliland and get around him, which is a bummer because Gilliland was, like I said, he was checked out. And until Nemechek had those issues, those were the only 2 guys to really beat all day. I don't really know what Sheldon Creed would have had just because he got taken out so early and they were obviously still working on it. He was climbing up through the field for sure. But, what a race. That was exciting.
And just a note, because the broadcast kept saying that Todd Gilliland isn't racing for anything because he's no longer in the playoffs, that he's just running for a win. The 38 is still in the owners' playoffs.
Yes, and if you look at the points that they got from the weekend, Todd Gilliland tied with getting the most points from the race. Him and Ben Rhodes both left the day with getting 51 points. So, like you said, huge points day. The win would have been huger.
The win would have locked the team into the next round.
Yeah. Unless you're like a couple people on Twitter, then Christian Eckes is now locked into the championship 4 at Phoenix, right? That's not true, people. That's not true. Eckes is not in the playoffs.
And neither is the 98 truck. The 98 truck was eliminated in the first round.
He is not in the championship 4. There's nobody locked in the championship 4 with the Truck Series. So they still have 2 more races left at Martinsville and
Talladega.
Oh yeah, Talladega this weekend. That's right. So they have Talladega this weekend, then a big long 3-week break roughly.
Yep.
Then they got the short track at Martinsville. So again, nobody locked in. I don't think anyone. It's going to be a long shot to be able to lock in on points unless
I want to
except
say
for Nemechek maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think Nemechek's the only one who can.
Let's actually pull up the points and see, because I'm curious.
I think he has I'm trying to remember what the points lead was. I had it in my notes.
Yeah. By the way, Rhodes is now leading the points, 6 over Nemechek. So Rhodes is 34 above the cut line, and Nemechek is 28 above the cut line.
Both of them can if they leave 60 points ahead.
60. It would have to be 60 points ahead of 6th place, because if 5th place wins, it can technically knock them out.
Yes.
So there's going to have to be a little bit of help. I think we'll have to wait to see how the stages play out. But I think if you can leave Talladega with a 30-point cushion, then you can pretty much safely say that you're going to be advancing to the next round, considering that nobody won at Vegas on Friday that was a playoff driver. So those two, I'd say, are comfortable. I'm just going to say, I think Ben Rhodes and John Hunter Nemechek are both going to go to the championship 4, whether by a win or by points, considering how much of a cushion they have. Because then you go down to Stuart Friesen, who's 3rd, 9 points above the cutoff line. Matt Crafton in 4th, 5 points above the cutoff line. Then Sheldon Creed, 5 below. Carson Hocevar, 16 below. Zane Smith, 19 below. And Chandler Smith, 24 below. With how consistent Carson Hocevar has been going, I'd say as far as someone below the cutoff line that can point his way in, he could probably do something like that. And then obviously Sheldon Creed has just, like I've said on a lot of shows, he's been the only truck that's been able to keep up with John Hunter Nemechek. So I think that could be your final 4. But hey, Matt Crafton is totally capable of stealing a win. Zane Smith has been running really strong. Chandler Smith has already won a race earlier this year when the pressure has been on him. So don't be surprised if one of these other guys steals a spot, and then it's between Hocevar and Creed to sneak up on that final spot. Hocevar right now, I don't think he quite has that experience to put it in victory lane. I'm not saying he can't, but he knows how to get stage points. And he can play that in his favor huge over these 2 races and point his way in.
Yeah, he's knocking on the door. I want to say he will probably get his first win at least by early next season.
Yeah.
Whether or not he gets it this year, it just depends, because I want to say there was 2 races that they seemed in position for. I want to say one of them was Gateway, and they caught up in that big wreck. And then the other one, I want to say, was Vegas until he had that, I want to say it was a flat tire or a loose wheel. I forget what it was. And then the spin.
Yeah, the spin.
Yeah.
The little like playground roundabout that you like pull on the little wheel and you spin yourself around, that spin out, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you spin yourself out with that.
You know who else got spun out? A number of people in the Xfinity series.
Oh. Okay. So let me just say this. 5 wide is very doable at Vegas. When I saw for a split second, you can do 5 wide at Vegas. But
when you give enough room.
But you can't do it when you don't give enough room, or when your spotter relays the information not quick enough.
Yeah, which led Riley Herbst getting turned into Ty Dillon, and then Vegas turned into Preview Talladega.
Oh gosh, man, it looked like a roulette wheel of like, all right, which number's gonna be next? All right.
I was gonna say, Jeremy Clements got caught up in it. Sam Mayer got caught up in it. Riley Herbst, Jeb Burton, Brandon Brown.
Dylan Lupton and JJ Yaley.
Yeah.
I think there were obviously a couple others that were caught up in it. Let me just say this. Look at that replay really slowly and take a look at a couple people that literally snuck right through. You had
Landon Castle.
You had Landon Castle was one. Tommy Joe Martins
Ryan Vargas
right through the bottom. I have no clue how. But
to quote Ryan Vargas on the radio, mind you, and he actually joked about this on Twitter, on the radio as he's driving below the wreck on the apron, I'm in danger.
Yeah,
I mean, at least he had a sense of humor, but
Ryan Vargas gets a top 20 finish because of surviving that. Tommy Joe Martins gets a top 15. That's huge for him and his team.
Bailey Curry got a top 15.
Bailey Curry finished 13th. Yep. Brett Moffitt getting caught up in the middle of everything all day, somehow finishes 12th. And Josh Berry was right alongside them as they are spinning and literally squeezes between one car that's already spinning high with the rear end in the wall and like 5 of them spinning low, and then you see all this smoke and then the nose of the one car just sliding right through it. Literally, and
NASCAR classified him as being in the wreck.
Jeez, which he technically was. I think he brushed someone.
Yeah, he got a donut on the passenger door.
It reminds me of Kurt Busch when he snuck right through that big one at Daytona in 2017, then goes on and wins the 500. It's just like, apparently that's what you need to do whenever the big one happens. You need to brush against someone, and then you'll just go win the race.
So Josh Berry's a new super sub.
Mm-hmm.
He wins in Michael Nett's car. It says Michael Nett on the driver's door. And Lionel Racing is making a Josh Berry Michael Nett race win. How awkward is that?
You know what's more awkward? Josh Berry is another driver that is not in the drivers' playoffs. He steals another win.
He steals another win, but the one car is in the playoffs. So he locked the one car in the next round. And he's fighting for Rookie of the Year with Ty Gibbs.
With Ty Gibbs, man.
He entered 78. He entered 76 points behind.
Nope.
He's now 66 behind.
It's crazy. It's so this whole weekend is building up to the Cup race, right? So we're just like, oh my gosh, who's gonna steal the Cup race now? Like, what's gonna happen? Like, what Cup drivers are gonna go crashing out and getting all crazy with it, and all that stuff. But yeah, like you said, Josh Berry goes out and wins this race. So
JRM is 1, 2, 3.
JRM is 1, 2, 3. Sam Mayer, who probably had a very similar setup to like Allgaier or Berry, probably would have made it 1, 2, 3, 4. At least I wouldn't have been surprised if that would have happened. Because Austin Cindric dominated when the sun was up. Allgaier was dominating when the sun was setting, and then Berry just had a whole nother gear when the lights came out. Noah Gragson had 2 penalties and then comes back up to finish 3rd.
And something else I do want to say. Josh Berry was supposed to be in Martinsville running the late model race, defending his 2019 win.
Yeah, instead here he is winning on the second biggest stage in stock car racing.
Yeah, I made a joke with a few other media members. He was like, fine, I can't win that. I'll just win there.
Pretty much. But he was ecstatic. So that was really cool to see and all that stuff. Let me pull this up here because I think NASCAR's website is off for some reason when it pulls up the Xfinity points. At least it doesn't seem right. I could be wrong, but anyway. So you have Austin Cindric, Austin Cindric and Allmendinger leading the points in the Xfinity playoffs. They're quite a ways ahead of 9th. In fact, Allmendinger's 59 points ahead of 9th, so 1 point shy of a whole race.
Yeah, and if he gets that 1 point, that's it. He's locked in. He and Cindric can lock themselves in, I think, in stage 1 at Talladega.
They potentially could, yes. I guess it just depends on like if Burton, Herbst, or Clements wins at Talladega. It's another safe bet to say that maybe Allgaier, Gragson, and Hemrick might be advancing because they're about 40 points above. Let's see, Hemrick is 34 above the cut line. So 30, 40 points above the cut line going to Talladega. Again, just get some stage points, play it smart. Talladega, and I think those 5 are advancing. So really, I think it's come down to the last 3 spots for the Xfinity's round of 8. Remember, they're not going for the championship 4 like the trucks. So they are going for the round of 8 at the Talladega race and then the following weekend at the Roval. So really, it's between Justin Haley, Harrison Burton, Brandon Jones, who currently sit above the cut line, and then Myatt Snyder, Jeb Burton, Riley Herbst, and Jeremy Clements, who sit below the cut line. If you're one of those last 3, like Jeb, Riley, and Jeremy, I think you just got to win.
Well, and that's very easily doable at both tracks.
Yes. And so I asked a lot of these guys, like, is Vegas a must win since Talladega and the Roval can be very wild card races? And there were a lot of drivers that felt like, yes, this is the place that you need to win at. Otherwise, you're going to be in big trouble. I'd say half the drivers were kind of like, like we're okay at the Roval. I think we'll be okay. But it seemed like a lot of the drivers, especially a lot of the veteran drivers, they were viewing Vegas as like, this is the race we have to win or get a lot of points at, which I will say 4 of them, let me go back to that race here. 4 of them, 5 of them did. You have Cindric that finished 4th, but got the most points with 49. And then you got Josh Berry, who again isn't a driver playoff, but like you said, going for the owners playoffs with 47 points, along with Noah Gragson and Daniel Hemrick, both also getting 47 points. And then Allgaier, who finished 2nd and got the worst number of points among all 5 of them with 45 points. So very good points days across the board. AJ Allmendinger finishing 7th, getting 42. So again, really good points days. But then you go further down, Myatt Snyder only getting 22, Riley Herbst crashing out early, only getting 4 points, and then Jeb Burton and Jeremy Clements only getting 1 point because they didn't even make it the first stage, I don't think.
No, they did not.
Yeah, stage 1 finished on lap 47?
45.
Oh, interesting. So I was guessing 45, but apparently the yellow flag was thrown on lap 46. Oh, because as they cross line, started at 46.
Yes.
Okay. I'm reading that wrong.
Yeah, so it's at the completion of lap 45, start of lap 46, so it's a little semantics.
Yeah. So, but yikes. I mean,
yeah.
If you're one of, and to win at wild card races, I mean, look, you can be a Brad Keselowski at Talladega, but you're going to need luck on your side and a lot of it. Look at Ryan Blaney when he won the first Roval race. He wasn't going to win that until Jimmy Johnson decided to.
You know who I think might actually be a surprise at the Roval? Mike Snyder.
Really?
Well, he ran the Euro Series, which is primarily road courses.
Mm-hmm.
And last year in the Rayon Brothers 93, in the rain, he was in the lead until he ran over a little bit of the paint and went wide.
Very interesting. And his win earlier, I thought he won the road course earlier. It was a Homestead.
No, he won at Homestead. He was in contention for the win at, I want to say it was at Mid-Ohio, and ended up was one of many punted off course on one of the restarts.
Right. And I know he's had a few top 10s. His only other top 5 this year. No, he only has one top 5 this year, and that was his win. Everything else has been top 10s.
He mentioned on Twitter and on SiriusXM that the team had been experimenting since his win, and they haven't found their way back. Yeah,
that's the hard part about experimenting is not finding your way back. So, because these drivers, I don't know if people realize it, but a lot of these drivers, especially in the Xfinity series, they change as the year goes on. So you can't just go back to what you were doing at the beginning of the year, because especially these younger drivers, they get better. They learn different things. They learn how to approach races and tracks differently. And especially when there's another track that was already on the schedule earlier in the year, or they did it last year, they come at it with a different approach. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can keep that. There's 6 in the points right now?
Something like that.
Oh no, they're 9th in points. So they got to find a way to get above that cut line pretty quickly here.
Yeah. Also, I think there was another race at Vegas.
There was?
Yeah, I think there was.
Oh. I know there was up until about lap 84.
So the first 2 stages were a race.
Pretty much, I'd say so. Yeah. Can I just say something controversial? Sorry, Jerry. I'm just going to say it. This package was designed to keep cars bunched together. It failed. It failed on Sunday night.
It's worked at some tracks. It hasn't worked at others.
Yep. I will say, I almost thought for a split second that Tyler Reddick was going to keep this streak going. That would have made it really entertaining to see if he could pull that off.
Yeah, except it wasn't meant to be. Denny Hamlin got the win. Chase Elliott almost ran him down after Hendrick at one point was running 1, 2, 3, 4, and seemingly forgot they were Team Hendrick.
Yeah, that would have been quite the story. It would have been even better if it were like they finished 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th right behind Reddick, but just to keep that whole streak going. But yeah, Hamlin, I guess, finally got his monkey off his back, and now he's been the class of the field lately. Gets his 2nd win of the season, led 137 laps after Larson led quite a bit of the opening of the race, and then just that whole pit cycle with choosing not to pit under that caution for Joey Gase's wreck.
Well, Cliff Daniels actually on SiriusXM had explained it. They didn't realize how long the caution was going to be.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people did.
So they were under the assumption that they were going to be right on the number or short to making it to the end of the stage, which is why they opted to stay out.
Right.
Meanwhile,
go ahead.
Meanwhile, Joe Gibbs Racing and a couple other teams saw what had happened and knew it was going to be a long caution.
Right. And the reason for that long caution, I know a lot of people on Twitter kept asking about it over and over and over again, but Joey Gase was that one in that big scary wreck. Man, I don't know what it is about turn 2 at Vegas, but it's been home for a lot of scary crashes. But Joey Gase had a parts failure, something with the brake rotor, basically sharding the whole.
Where it was a drive shaft or axle or something along those lines.
Yeah, and that knocked the left rear off the car, and you can't drive these cars that fast with just 3 wheels. So he went straight up in the wall. Now, one thing I did point out on Twitter that was my concern immediately was when I saw the EMTs pull up to Joey Gase's car. They were the ones that pulled his window net down. So the window net is a signal for the driver to say, I'm okay, so I'm going to let you know by me putting the window net down. It's usually not the EMTs coming up to the car or the corner workers coming up to the car and pulling the window net down. So I mentioned that because the same exact thing happened at Michigan. The EMTs came up and pulled the window net down when Joey Gase had his hard crash at Michigan.
Yeah, there's been times where they've come up and the window net has still been up and they've been talking to the driver, where it's Gase, where it's other drivers, and the driver will take it down. But this time it was the EMTs taking it down. I don't know if it was because of the severity of the crash that they were being extra precautious, or if, obviously Gase was transported to a local medical center for observation and evaluation. and now he's being, I think, evaluated here in Charlotte. And if I remember correctly, JJ Yeley is in the 15 this weekend.
Is he? I wasn't sure if Gates was on for the rest of the year or not, but
I think he's on for all but one or two races.
got it.
I don't know if this is one of the ones that was scheduled for him or not, though.
Yeah, and I know Rick Ware has a lot of availability with standby drivers and stuff like that. But yeah, so Joey, hope you're okay. As another race or two, it's scary to see stuff like that happen so quickly, especially between Michigan and Vegas like that. So hopefully everything is okay. He was released from the hospital same night-ish, I guess. It was technically just past midnight when he was released. But same evening, same vicinity of time period he was released. So that is a good sign. But obviously the doctor's requests of needing further evaluation is still something to keep in prayers for him and all that stuff. Because like I said, the main thing I got concerned about was him not putting the window net down, and then having seen that at Michigan also. That was the very first thing that popped in my head. I'm like, wait, that back to back like that, that's really not good. But like I said, thankfully, lots of good news on that front. Someone caught some photos of the wreck, and Rick Ware shared one of them on their Twitter profile. And jeez, man, that impact, you can see the wall being bent in.
He rode up onto the top of the wall, almost rolled it over.
Yeah, it was a vicious hit. We could hear it and feel it in the media center. It was like a bomb went off. And this was during a green flag run. That's how big the impact was. So yeah, it was a scary moment, but like I said, thankfully he is okay. But to continue on with the race, there were a few guys that had some really good days, like Ryan Blaney, who had that punctured hole right in the grill just to kick the race off, but he never dropped back. So okay, like ain't nothing gonna stop him. Larson having that issue, but being able to come back for a top 10 finish. On the flip side of that, man, I don't know what it was. Christopher Bell did not show up at all.
He got damage on one of the first starts.
Yeah.
Or no, it was he ran into the back of Kurt Busch going on the pit road.
That's right.
Yeah.
So not only did he just not really show up, but that damage didn't help him at all. Ready for this? William Byron passed 126 cars this race, from going to the back to the front twice, and then going to the back a third time and getting up to 18th.
He probably had the car to beat.
Oh, hands down. Had that not happened, Denny Hamlin would not have won this race. This was William Byron's race to win. Yeah. Alex Bowman also having issues on that last pit stop, didn't help either. By the way, going back to Byron, he passed 126 cars. The next person in line was Chris Buescher, who passed 95. This number 24 car passed 31 more cars than the next competitor behind him. Just absolutely insane. They were on a whole different level there, but yeah, like you said, they were at 1 point 1, 2, 3, 4, and then all of a sudden Vegas just started rolling snake eyes for Team Hendrick.
Yep, and it happens. It happens to every team every now and then. Every now and then, a team will just miss a call, and that's it. They don't have a chance after that in that race.
Yep. So, like I said, Byron finishing 18th, Bowman 22nd, 2 laps down, Bell finishing 24th, 2 laps down also. Just a big yikes for their playoff picture. A couple other notables, like I said, Reddick had a really good race, finished 6th. Kurt Busch finishing in 8th. Matt DiBenedetto, who was starting to crack the top 3 a little bit during that race, ends up with a 12th place run. And I'll tell you what, one guy that's been really quietly impressing me all year long, Chase Briscoe with a 14th place finish. That doesn't seem impressive considering he's driving a Stewart-Haas car, but considering he's driving a Stewart-Haas car, it's like this guy in his first year in Cup is starting to become the leader at Stewart-Haas behind Harvick.
Yeah, and honestly, since Stewart-Haas for the most part has been a little bit out to lunch this year, it is impressive that he's at least running as well as he is.
Yeah, definitely.
Granted, it's not consistent, but he is slowly improving towards that consistency.
Absolutely. So, looking at the points, let's see. Obviously, Hamlin's locked in. Larson is 57 above the cut line. So he's most likely a lock for going into the next round. Hopefully his team doesn't leave a towel on the cooling system when they go out on track. Did I bring that up? Whoops.
At least I didn't pick Larson that week.
Someone on Twitter was like,
can I have one single race without someone talking about Larson and and how he's doing so well and how he's dominating the race?
and I just shared the link to that race and I went, you already had that this year, buddy. Here, go ahead and watch this race if you want. So, but yeah, Larson, Hamlin, technically, like I said, advancing the next round. Points-wise, he is 14 behind Larson. Then you have Kyle Busch, Truex, Blaney, Elliott, Logano, and Keselowski above the cut line. But I'll tell you what, those last four, Blaney, Elliott, Logano, Keselowski, only about 20 something points above the cut line. So a couple stages can very easily change that for those drivers. Then you have Byron, who's 4 behind Keselowski, Harvick, who is 7 behind. Bowman only about that's 13 points. Yeah, 13 points behind. And then obviously Christopher Bell, who is 25. Yeah, 25 points behind. So Bell's going to need to start dominating some stages here or get a win if he's going to advance with that number 20 car. I don't think he will. Like I said, unless he does win. He did win at the Daytona road course, so who knows? He might get a dub at this Charlotte Roval.
Yeah, he could. You know who else has been dominating? Your wife has been dominating in our truck points.
You know what's funny is she gets like the leftover picks and how she's dominating. I have no clue.
But anyway, Rachel is leading the truck points with 241. In second is Matt with 181. She has a 60-point lead.
She could, since we're not doing playoffs with trucks, she could potentially clinch in the next race or two.
She could clinch this weekend if she leaves with a 120-point lead.
Yeah, that's obviously asking a lot, but
she could also clinch because here's the caveat though. 120 points, that's if somebody finishes last.
Right.
Correct? However, we give people who don't make picks 10th place points, at least for this year.
So pretty much guaranteed.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Man. Oh, there go the truck playoffs or truck points.
So do you want to make a pick, Justin, for trucks or no?
See this? So for Cup, no, because I finally go with someone else picking for my Cup.
I didn't say Cup, I said truck.
And where does my Cup pick finish? 10th.
Well, I'm talking trucks.
Beep.
Well, I'm talking trucks.
Oh man, trucks. See, so this is tough because Talladega is a wild card. It is a super speedway race. Gosh, I really don't know for trucks. Like this is going to be a tough one because I don't really know like who's kind of been the show for trucks on super speedways. I know. Wait, they didn't have. Did they not have? No, they didn't. So they've only had one other super speedway race this year.
Yeah, they only have 2 a year.
That's right, and that one was Ben Rhodes winning.
Yeah, Ben Rhodes winning after 3/4 of the field wreck off of turn 4.
Yeah, maybe at this race I should pick Corey Roper since he finished third.
Corey Roper. No,
Yeah,
seriously.
Man, this is a tough one. I'm trying to see, but this is honestly just going to be a wild card pick. So, why not? Let's just say screw it. I'll go Carson Hocevar.
Okay.
I'm just literally looking at this list from like 5th to 10th, and I'm like, do I want Grant Enfinger or Nemechek or Hocevar? Let's do that.
Now, here's my idea. Because Rachel's basically locked it up, and I have basically no chance of winning the truck points, I want to see a fan favorite win. So I could either go fast, quoting the sponsor, and pick Parker Kligerman, who has won at Talladega before twice, or I could go with the person who has finished runner-up twice at Daytona, including this year, Jordan Anderson.
Wait, Haley Deegan's not a fan favorite? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about ones who have almost won or have won. No offense to Haley. Yes, she is a fan favorite. I'm specifically talking ones that I know can get it done at Talladega. So, I think I'll go with the one who also runs in the same iRacing league as me and go with Parker Kligerman.
There you go. Good. You made him happy.
Yeah. The last time I picked him, he went fast and he got a top 5. So let's see that happen again.
There you go.
Now, in Xfinity, I'm the first to pick.
Ooh.
In Xfinity, the points are actually closer. You're leading with 232. Zach is second with 210. Matt is third with 203. And I'm in fourth with 196.
Mm-hmm.
And since I go first, Justin Haley.
Yeah, I was gonna say Haley's won one of the road courses this year, so that is definitely a good pick. And Jeb Burton's won another or not road course. I said road course. Super Speedway.
Super Speedway.
But
Jeb Burton won the other one.
Jeb Burton
Talladega.
won the other one. And so if you kind of stay in that same realm, AJ Allmendinger has finished 5th, 3rd, and 2nd at the Super Speedway races. So, I mean, you got to go consistency. And right now, like, Colleague Racing is just so lit. They are like a California wildfire right now. Colleague has a stinking Cup Series win already. Like, holy cow.
Colleague Racing right now is what DEI was when they were dominating the plate tracks in 2004.
Yeah. And those guys, Jeb, I'm talking about Jeb, Justin, and AJ, those guys know how to work together up until the moment they know when to flip the switch and start racing for the win without wrecking each other. And it's proven all year long. Winning 2 of the 3 races. They have top 5s, I think, in all three races so far. So if you go outside of Colleague Racing, you're absolutely dumb. If you have any Colleague Racing on your fantasy picks as far as stuff like that, and they're in your garage, get them out now. So yeah, I just got to stay with Colleague Racing. I'm going to go AJ Allmendinger.
And you pick first for Cup as well.
Brad Keselowski. He hasn't been.
I figured you were going to do that.
He hasn't been as strong overall as of late, But when it comes to Talladega, he's the Earnhardt right now of Talladega. He's got 5 wins there, and he used to race for Junior, so he's got all their secrets on how to manipulate the draft and all that stuff. I think this is going to be the race where, again, maybe another controversial statement, but I think this is going to be the race where he maybe sends a little message to Joey and goes, "Don't block me anymore because I won't be your teammate next year." And he's going to start that favor early.
Well, I'm staying in the Penske camp, but I'm not going with Joey. I'm going to go with YRB, young Ryan Blaney. He's won at Talladega. He's won at Daytona. And entering the playoffs, he was on a hot streak.
Yeah, I was going to say he was the other pick I was thinking, but for some reason I just went with Keselowski. But yeah, and like you said, he's on a huge streak. This is his best year in his career by far. And all of his half his wins have been on super speedways or something like that.
Yep.
So solid pick.
Now I have a question. Has Rachel sent you any picks?
She has not. So we don't know what she has.
And no one has sent me any picks. So I guess we'll find out right before the race when the social media intern tweets out our picks.
Oh, you mean me?
Well, have you been tweeting out the picks or have I been tweeting out the picks? I guess the world will never know.
Oh yeah. I don't know what you're talking about. I just do all the funny GIFs whenever Jerry mentions the intern. So
hey, I'll play along with the joke every now and then.
Yeah, Talladega is going to be huge. It's going to be a wild card race. It's going to be an opportunity for someone to steal, and it's going to be an opportunity for people to find out if they're going to get caught up in the big one or not, and set up for a wild roval race for Xfinity and Cup, and a long time to wait for Martinsville. Boy, if you're caught up in the big one and below the cutoff line, imagine having to sit there for 3 weeks to wait for Martinsville. Oh man.
That's the one thing I don't like about the truck schedule this year or the new one next year. Next year there are 6 off weekends in the first half of the year.
Yeah.
In the second half of the year, there's 9 off weekends.
Yep. So the round of 10 starts on July 29th. Then your round of 10 is July 29th, August 13th, and then September 9th. Then you finally have a back-to-back race weekend to start the round of 8 on September 15th. Then October 1st, and then October 22nd.
The Truck Series schedule, at least in recent years, was better when there were 25 races. I think 25 was the magic number for the Truck Series. I hope one day they can get back to it. I understand why they're not at it right now, but the number of off weekends, I'm sorry. If you're adamant about having the truck start at Daytona and end at Phoenix, you can't have that many off weekends in the playoffs.
Yeah. Because, especially with this schedule here, going to Vegas in March just doesn't make sense, like schedule-wise. Like, I know they couldn't find TV time for the fall Vegas race, but now they don't have a West Coast swing. And aside from Sonoma, that's the only time they're coming out here.
Until Phoenix.
Until the Phoenix Championship race. So, it makes those West Coast races much more out of place for their schedule, but I do like the diversity of it. I think this is good. I think if Ben Kennedy can work a bit more on just trying to get long-term agreements, then we can try to get something a bit more solidified. And then maybe instead of just spontaneously moving one track around at times, we go to specific regions and then we do like a little circle there, and then this region and do a little circle there, and then this region do a little circle there, almost like what we do with the West Coast Swing.
Well, for the Pacific Northwest, what comes to mind for the Truck Series outside of Portland, granted, I know safety upgrades would need to take place at the track, but Evergreen.
Willow Springs, please, come on.
You mean the Top Gear test track?
That too. Gran Turismo Speedway. All right. Other than that, I think that's really all we had. This ended up being an hour episode, but we had a lot of fun. I hope you guys did. Thanks for listening and tuning in. And send us your picks, by the way. If you guys are listening in, send us your picks. Let us know who you think is going to be winning the race. And who knows, maybe we might bring up some of your picks if you end up picking a winner and whatnot, giving you a little bit of a shout out on the show. But that'll do it for us, Seth, unless you had anything else.
I'm good.
I am ready to go eat some dinner. You're probably ready to go take a big nap. It's 11 o'clock over there. It's 8 o'clock here. Okay, for East and West Coast problems. All right, but pull your belts tight, racing fam, because we're gonna go to Talladega. Hopefully, no one steals the pace car this year. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week.